Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that every single day celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. And today we're actually going to celebrate someone who has really worked hard to make coastal Mississippi a better place to visit and to live here if you want to do a staycation. We'll come to her in just a second, but I'm looking forward. We're going to spend a whole hour today with our special guest. I want to share a couple of quotes that I've been saving up. And so here's the first one from my friend Susan Griggs. Here's what she posted. Don't know where it came from, but essentially it says this: I've never understood people being ashamed of their age, as if it's some sort of failure. Every damn number should be celebrated, and if it's a high number, you're winning, not losing. I love that. I actually I don't mind telling you, I've celebrated on August the 4th, my 65th birthday. And I have worked my rear end off for 40 years to stay in shape and be able to enjoy the things that I like to do, which is go offshore, go on long runs or bike rides or walks, or go up in the Mississippi Delta and tromp deep into the woods. I want to be able to do that for a long time. And I want to live to be able to spend time with my grandkids. So I'm proud of my high number. I'm not ashamed of it at all. It's making me a much wiser man. And I appreciate my friend Susan for posting that. I had a guy on the show, my outdoor show recently, who owns the company Sledging Company up in Jackson. And they posted this from Theodore Roosevelt, and I thought it was terrific. The only man who makes no mistakes is the man who never does anything. I love that, because we talk a lot about successes, about trying things and doing things and taking risks and making mistakes and learning from those mistakes and getting better, and that's what life is all about. If you want success in your life, you have to be willing to take risks. Here's another one from Jim Rohn. If you're not willing to risk the usual, you will have to settle. Excuse me, I'm blowing out all the heckin' back, and we start over again. If you're not willing to risk the usual, you will have to settle for the ordinary. Again, that goes with taking risk, and that is for sure. And here's one that I think is powerful. It's from Billy Graham, and you can expect that it would have a faithful aspect to it. But it says this: the greatest legacy one can pass to one's children or grandchildren is not money or other material things accumulated in one's life, but rather a legacy of character and faith. A legacy of character and faith. I agree with that completely. And I think a lot about legacy and my kids and my grandkids. And my recent heart scare, I'm doing great incidentally, gave me once more an opportunity to reflect and to think about how lucky I am to be in this moment. And, I look around me and I think about my legacy at the end of the day is going to be, and this is Ann, my wife believes this as well, it's going to be our kids and our grandkids, and then their families. And long after we're gone, hopefully we've left some good people on earth. That's the goal. Okay, so now let's shift gears. I am so thrilled. Let me bring my guest in, and then I'll tell you why I'm thrilled. I want you to meet Nicole Martz. And Nicole, we're going to tell you more about her, but she actually has a real job at IP Casino Resort and Spa. But she also does something on the side that I think is really important to tourism here, called Gulf Coast Gal. Well, I knew her long before she was selected as one of the One Coast Award winners, because someone shared with me one of her videos for Gulf Coast Gal, and I liked it. And I kind of followed her through that. But then she got one of the One Coast Awards, and I definitely wanted to focus on her then. So without any further ado, let me welcome Nicole to the show. We're going to spend a whole hour with her today. So how you doing, Nicole?
I am fantastic, Ricky. Thank you so much for having me on.
It's great to see you. Okay. Listen, you heard some of what I said. I saw you nodding when we talked about taking risk and being willing to make mistakes, but you can't succeed if you don't have that point of view, can you?
100%. You got to try it, and throw things against the wall and see if they stick and see if they work. And if not, I'm sure there's a very good lesson in it. But if it does, what do you have to lose,
I have a cousin in Alabama, who was a paramedic. I became a paramedic early in my life and went on to pre-med, and then I changed my careers and went on to get a business degree in an MBA, and kind of the rest is history after that. But I was going to be an emergency room physician, and my cousin Harold, who sort of opened the door for me to do that. I went to the University of Alabama in Birmingham. He's from Birmingham. He went on to be a jet pilot and running several different companies, and they have a vast wedding business that they have up in Springville, Alabama, on the outskirts of Alabama. To give you an idea how big they are, they can do 5 weddings in a day. 5 different weddings. It's just a huge operation. But, when I talked to him, I said, Harold, you've tried so many things along the way. And he said, dude, I'm all about throwing it up against the wall. Some of it's going to stick. Some of it's not going to stick. But we're going to, you cannot win if you're not in the game. And I'm going to always be in the game. But that's so true, isn't it?
Exactly. That's one of my philosophies. I'm sure lots of people have heard me say it, because one, if you don't learn from it, it's successful, and you didn't have much to lose in the first place, or you have a good story to tell. So
yeah, of course. So you live in Van Cleve now, which I find interesting. Did you grow up in that area?
I was born in Ocean Springs in back in the 80s, and then my father was in the military, so we traveled quite a bit. Lived in Germany, and then ended up coming back down south, down home, and I want to say later elementary school, and I've been here ever since.
Nicole, I hear this a lot, and I spend a lot of time focusing on the military community here in coastal Mississippi, because every branch is represented. The impact that they make, that each branch of the military makes here in coastal Mississippi is very significant. And people travel all over the world. I talk to them all the time. They travel all over the world, and they choose to retire here. And they even though they weren't from here, but they got introduced to coastal Mississippi somewhere along the way, and they couldn't get back fast enough. But you being a kid that came from a family that falls under that description, you probably know a lot of people who decided to live here that were in the military.
Oh, 100%. Lots of people that retired or have been stationed here and can't wait to get back. Experience a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Okay. So who was your biggest influence growing up?
Oh my goodness. My dad definitely is, in the top. He's just such a hard worker. Ever since he was young, his family grew up on Lee Street in Biloxi, and his dad was a shrimper, and I think he got that strong work ethic from him, and so I kind of inherited it from my father, and just seeing him do what needs to be done to support his family and work hard and keep a positive attitude. It's been tremendous.
Well, I hear that about you. I hear people say of you that you're one of the most positive people they know. I tend to try to be that way myself. And they say that you are someone who gets things done, and that no assignment too big for you. But has that always been part of you, or did you have to sort of find that place?
I think so, but I think more so throughout my life, I've had to find my voice, I guess, and figure out, where my perfect lane was. But I've always been outspoken. My mom would ask me to do something, and I would say, I'm going to do it, but we're going to talk about this later. And so I feel like that, spark and that fire has always been there. I just had to find my lane.
Nicole, I was the same way. I was so independent. Almost to the point of being antisocial when I was younger. I mean, I had my close friends, but then outside of that, a lot of people didn't really get me, to be honest with you. I played drums, and I enjoyed doing that, and I loved to fish and enjoy the outdoors. And again, I had my close friends, but beyond that, I didn't really care, because I was just kind of pursuing what I wanted to do, and very much an individual. I told people that later in my life, after I became a publisher, that quality in me, that independence, I'm talking about like really serious independent quality in me, actually served me really well as a CEO that had to manage major change efforts in my career. And when I had to take a strong political or other editorial position relative to the newspaper, I would do my homework and then do my, vote my conviction and do what I believed to be the right thing and sleep sleep really good at night. And again, I think you have to have tough skin to be independent like that. You have to have confidence to the extent that you know what you're good at and what you're not good at. You certainly can't fake it. Because if you fake it, actually be interested to hear what you have to say about this. But some people say you can fake it till you make it. And that may be true early in your career, but as you advance on and start, creating commitments, you have to really kind of be worth your salt. You can't fake it, can you?
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to do your homework and you have to work hard, and being prepared is an important part of that. And I think, like you said, if you can fake it till you make it and feel like, you belong and kind of wait it away, but you definitely need to do your homework and be prepared and show up and be present.
Well, we're talking with Nicole Martz. We're going to spend the whole show with Nicole. She works at IP Resort. We'll talk a little bit more about her job there. She has a great website and YouTube effort called Gulf Coast Gal, very tourism related. When we come back, we'll continue to tell her story. We'll see you after this break. One of the things I talk about on this show a lot is the need for leadership development. People who, again, one of the things I also talk about is the 1,000 points of light, that you got all these people that work in all these different nonprofits and some that start their own efforts that fill gaps and whatever. That's what makes our community so resilient. But the need to do leadership development, all the chambers, Hancock, Mississippi Gulf Coast Chamber, Jackson County Chamber, the Gulf Coast Business Council, are all engaged in very significant leadership development programs. We have Leadership Mississippi, which I've been through. Nicole has been through that as well. Very important. That helps you sort of get not only the regional and local perspective, but also the state perspective. The more leadership training we do, the better, because it helps people recognize that whatever they do in their work, if they're not really engaged in the community, understanding the needs of the community, they can never really do their work really well. That there's a direct connection between the success of their business and how they have their business in tune with what's going on in the community. And, leadership can come in a bunch of different forms. It could be involved in a nonprofit effort. It could be leading a chamber effort. It could be becoming president of the chamber or president of the Gulf Coast Business Council. I mean, I could just go on and on and on, but it's really important. When you look at Nicole Martz's background, she's had the opportunity to be, she's been recognized as a Volunteer of the Year and nominee for the city of Biloxi. She's a Coach Young Professional MVP. She's a team leader of the quarter at her business at IP Casino. Of course, I mentioned she's one coast. I could keep going on and on about that, but the point is that she's one of those in the wings that's really developing, and she'll become a significant leader in this community at some point. Not that she isn't already, but she will be, because she's smart and independent and entrepreneurial and wanting to make a difference. Did I say that right, Nicole?
I mean, definitely. I didn't know I needed tissues for this. That was very kind. I definitely think that mentoring young leaders is an important part of our community, and it's a great way to kind of set a foundation for the future leaders tomorrow. And doing so with those leadership programs like Leadership Gulf Coast, cannot recommend it enough. Or near and dear to my heart, Coast Young Professionals is really important. Yeah. So I definitely encourage young leaders or people in a mentorship role to encourage those people, the up and comers, to kind of find those avenues and branch out and try those things.
And the more you learn, the more you realize, wow, there's so much to learn about how all this ecosystem of volunteerism, how it actually works along coastal Mississippi, from state line to state line and so many points in between. There's a lot going on, and I would say that in coastal Mississippi, it's even more refined. I would say, as I said many times, whether it be the oil spill, the Bonnet Carré opening that led to an algae bloom, or something like Hurricane Katrina, the worst natural disaster in American history, that has a way of making a community resilient. If you can bounce back, with every time you bounce back, you get better at it, and you get more determined. And the next time it happens, it doesn't take you a long time to realize what you're dealing with. You sort of know from experience that this is something we're going to have to get into the trenches and recover from. Not recovering, obviously, is not an option. But that's what we do, and you've been engaged in that way. So let's get back. Actually, I loved it that you went to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. So did I before I went to Southern Miss. I'm a proud member of the Hall of Fame, and I talk about it all the time. But one of the Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College is one of the top community colleges in the entire United States. You already know that, but that helped prepare you, didn't it?
100%. All of business classes, marketing, the introductions to people in this area started at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. So I was really appreciative of my time and experiences there for sure.
Okay. When did you decide that you're going to do a career in marketing? You just don't land in a key marketing role at IP. So what was the track that brought you to the role that you're playing today?
Oh my goodness, it was a whirlwind adventure. I first thought I wanted to be a cosmetologist, wanted to go into art, a lawyer, the whole 9 yards throughout my childhood. But my father is in the industry. He's been in the industry for quite some time. And he said, you need a good career. You need to get your foot in the door. You need to start. So we're going to send you to dealer school. So he did right out of high school. And I went to school to learn how to be a table games dealer, which was really exciting to learn all the facets of such an important industry here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So I did that and was going to go in for an interview, and they had a position open in the Players Club. And that's kind of where my story started, I guess, in casino marketing. I fell in love with it from orientation, day one, and getting to meet a bunch of people and interacting with people and making special experiences and memories. It's been a tremendous adventure so far.
Well, one thing is for sure, casino companies are really, really, really astute marketers. And this goes back to, I can remember in the early 90s when casinos were just coming to the community, we were getting a grasp of the level of expertise they were bringing to the community around marketing and this evolution of database marketing, how they were going to do that. And then ultimately, the whole notion of charter flights and how that works, and charter buses and how that works, and, special events. And I mean, it's highly sophisticated, and it's incredibly competitive. You guys are, in some cases you're doing special, marketing to very unique geographical areas away from coastal Mississippi, and you're not letting anybody know you're doing it because you're wanting to be competitive with the other casinos. But I mean, you got to be on your edge to be good at what you do. The way I would like to refer to it is keeping the casino pump primed is a full-time, 24-hour-a-day effort. And it's very sophisticated, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. I love it because I'm able to use, the creative side of my brain and do those events and things like that, but also the analytical side of the brain. So I'm able to tap into both sides and solve problems and work as a team with lots of different areas. It's one of my favorite reasons, or one of my favorite things about working in the casino industry is it's kind of a small city. You can go to a bunch of different areas and learn lots of things, and I'm definitely an advocate for learn as much as you can. So it's the perfect. So
tell me, okay, so special events and promotions manager, what do you, just kind of define your job?
Whatever they tell me to do. No, special events and promotions manager. My team and I are responsible for planning and implementing, executing, doing analysis on all of the casino-based patrons promotions and activities. So anything, if you have a Players Club card, you're one of our guests that we're inviting in and planning events for. So we'll do drawings, giveaways, slot tournaments, gift programs, the whole 9 yards.
Wow. Lot to say grace over. I have all kinds of memories about IP. I mean, obviously I was working at the Sun Herald when it was being built. And you had Ralph Engelstadt and Steve Wynn, who had the ego clash that was taking place, and IP builds this extra room, floor.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So they could beat the Beau Rivage, and then without the city of Biloxi approving it, I might add. But that kind of defined Ralph Engelstadt. He was a tough player. And then I got to know, after he passed away, I got to know the trustees that were sort of over that for a while until his daughter decided that she would sell, and then the current owners came to the table. But A lot of change there, but through the whole process, the IP hasn't really missed a lick, except for that downtime after Hurricane Katrina, obviously. But it's been a very important community player. What I've remember most about the IP is that from day one, they have always been committed to the community. I mean, in a really, really big way. I mean, the investments that the IP is making into the community is very significant, isn't it?
This is one of my favorite parts about working here, whether it be the team members rallying together over a cause or the organization itself supporting local endeavors. It's fantastic.
Okay, so anything else about the IP before we switch gears? Because I don't want to shortchange the opportunity to mention your current employer. But anything else there before we move on?
Not that I can think of.
Yeah. Okay. So Gulf Coast Gal, where did the vision for that come from?
It's kind of built up quite a bit over the years. In high school, all my friends were like, there's nothing to do down here. What can we do? And trying to figure out what their plans were for the weekend. And so that's kind of, I think, where the initial plans started brewing in my head. And then things just kind of clicked over the years. Watch a lot of YouTube. I'm really a visual person. So I love any kind of broadcast media, like television shows, things like that. So I can just get ideas and be inspired. And I love, watching people tell a story. So I'd watch a lot of YouTube and see people going to Disney World and see people show off their restaurant. And I'm like, we have so much to offer down here. Somebody needs to showcase it. So that's kind of where it came into play. I was like, well, can't that somebody be me?
Yeah, so I love the idea. Hey, listen, we're coming to the end of the segment. We'll pick it up on the other side. But we recently, our kind of home away from home is the Turks and Caicos. We love to go to Turks and Caicos. But this year we decided to try something a little different. If we don't make diving, we love to dive. If we don't make diving a requirement, what might we do? And we ended up going to Dominican Republic. Okay. And so what I did is I watched a lot of YouTube videos of people who are visiting there or people who are there who did what you're doing, taking us to the various places to try to get a sense of the island and the culture and all that. What you do is actually really important for someone who's going to be visiting here. That is for sure. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Nicole Martz, and we'll talk more about Gulf Coast Gal. We'll see you after this. Takes a lot of people to make a community tick. It really does. People who are dedicated to helping kind of move the ball and filling gaps with their own unique perspective about this great place. And what Nicole Martz is doing with Gulf Coast Gal, you can get it by going to gulfcoastgal.net. You can go to YouTube and just do a search Gulf Coast Gal and it will come up. And you can see her videos. She's done videos from all across coastal Mississippi. We're going to actually get into what were some of her more interesting visits along the way and what are people turned on to and whatever. But so how long have you been doing this now? If you had to put a calendar on, how long has it been?
I want to say 4 years. It's been quite some time. And it started out, one video every so often. And now my goal is 3 videos a week, which is tremendous effort, but it's helping promote the coast, so that's what I'm here for.
It is. I mean, of course, we do an hour-long show every single day, and
a lot.
So I know what's involved in doing that. Now I'm doing it from my studio here at the house, and in most cases, you're actually visiting somewhere. So that is and you live in Van Cleef. So that's a very significant commitment. How do you decide where you're going to go? Is it serendipitous?
Yeah, I think so. It's, people do invite me to their businesses sometimes, which is fantastic. I love when, they have open arms and they're interested in what I'm doing and how I'm trying to promote the Mississippi Gulf Coast and all that it offers. But it's whatever is hot, maybe something that's new and just opened. People are always interested in that, especially people that live here that might not get out and explore their area, as well as they probably should. And then just whatever I'm inspired to do that weekend or that day or whatever I have free, kind of wherever the wind blows me.
What I have learned doing the show, of course, I led a digital media company, a rather large digital media company. But it's interesting what I've learned doing this show about how social media works and how to take advantage of organic opportunities versus paid content, etc. I learned a lot. And when you're in the trenches doing it, it really helps you see some things you might not have otherwise seen when you were looking at it from a very high level. But I would bet that doing the show actually helps you in your job, doesn't it?
I think so. It helps me look at things in a new perspective, maybe in a tourist perspective. And when I go into places, I can see what extra little special touches they might include in their best practices and add them to what I like to do around my place of work.
Well, okay, so just to give people an idea of what you do. So it could be you might go to a restaurant and describe the eating experience. It might be going to the Mississippi Aquarium and literally going underwater. It might be catching a Ship Island boat. In one case, she rode out on Mr. Pete, or Captain Pete, excuse me, the bigger of the Ship Island boats, and showing you what that experience looks like. And then, once she got there, she explained sort of what the lay of the land was on the island. But it's really the kind of stuff that if I were going to visit here, I would, if I were going to visit the Ship Island ferry. And I do a search on it, probably what's going to pop up is somewhere in that search is going to be Nicole's YouTube video about that. And again, the more interaction the video gets, the more it's probably going to be popping up on Google and whatever. But again, it's a wide range of things that you do, isn't it? I mean, it could be some small little unique corner that a tourist would not know anything about, or it could be something grand like the Mississippi Aquarium. You don't really have a barrier on what you're willing to do something about it, do you?
No, not at all. Like I said, it's all about promoting this area, and we have lots of special things, whether it be independent businesses, delicious restaurants, activities, attractions. I wanted to kind of build this catalog, if you will, for someone to plan their girls' trip, plan their weekend vacation down the Mississippi Gulf Coast, plan their staycation, and kind of get to explore the area, and they can pick and choose from those videos what might inspire them and what they might want to check out, and that's kind of the hope.
And you have help from Gulf Coast Guy.
Yeah, he's tremendous. He helps with some B-roll and things like that.
Yeah, that's so neat. Okay, so in all the videos you've done, what do you find that's popular? What do you find that people really interact with more than you expected?
The Ship Island Excursions video really blew up. I think it's over 2,000 views right now, which for someone like me with just under 500 subscribers, that is just so outstanding and so special. It's kind of an institution here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. It's almost been in business for 100 years. So I know it's quite often searched about, and I think there's a lot of South Mississippians that haven't even taken that opportunity to go 12 miles out and explore Ship Island. So I wanted to share some tips and tricks and share the ride and what to expect and kind of shine a light on this great business here on coastal Mississippi.
Are there other videos that stick out to you? Forget about the interaction and views and whatever, but just something that was fun for you, that you did it and then you said, wow, that was cool.
Oh my gosh. Most recently, I think just a couple days ago, my latest video is from Mississippi Aquarium. I actually booked the Sea Trek experience. So you get to put on a helmet and go under in a wetsuit in the whole 9 yards and go underwater in their large ocean exhibit. And that was so wonderful. It's something you don't get to do every day. And many locations don't offer that. To be able to do that and kind of get an inside look, literally, of the Mississippi Aquarium was phenomenal.
What's interesting about that video, incidentally, is first of all, the tropical fish, the clarity of the water.
100%.
Again, I mentioned to you, we love to dive in Turks and Caicos, and the thing that occurs to me when I'm diving at Turks and Caicos is that you have these huge coral reefs that come off the sandy bottom. And at times you literally catch yourself thinking that I'm in an aquarium because it's so clear and beautiful, and there's so many, all these creatures everywhere. You can just go up to a little section of the coral and just freeze frame. And my son Jordan, he's an adventurer. and my son Jordan and Justin and I will be, diving along, and then suddenly Jordan vanishes, and I look down on the bottom, and he's laying, nose to nose with a nurse shark, or doing something crazy. And he's always scared me, but he has no fear when he's underwater. But it literally feels like you're in an aquarium. So literally, the view that you had when you were in the aquarium is very much what a diving experience looks like on a clear coral reef.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, 100% one of my, top 10 experiences. It was really great. And I kind of mentioned after the end of that video, I kind of caught the dive bug afterwards. So if anybody's interested in diving or just want to get a real up close and personal with sea life or the aquarium, I definitely recommend you check out the video and then book the experience for sure.
We do a lot of fishing off the coast, and in fact, every chance we get, and we always bring our snorkeling equipment and even spear guns with us sometimes. But we'll just about every time we hit, if the water's clear, a rig off our coast. When we get done fishing at the rig, we'll go get in the water and go check it out, and it's so beautiful, so alive with amazing creatures, and we're lucky to live here and to be able to experience that is for sure. One of the things I noted though about your videos is that when you're eating at a restaurant, you have a unique way of describing the experience, and you're kind, and you sort of talk about it in that respect, but you're a little bit of a connoisseur. You sort of know what to look for. So are you a foodie?
Maybe self-proclaimed. I never thought in my 30 plus years that I would be watching myself eat as much food as I do, just because of all the editing and hours that goes into it. But I enjoy all that we have to offer down here. It's such a wide variety, from Italian, Korean, Vietnamese, good old Southern cooking. We have the whole gambit. So I really want to make a point to try all of the places and hit on those spotlights, because my taste might not be everybody's taste. So that's why I like to show the menu and tell you things that I like that you might want to try, but I'm cognizant to people's, tastes are different. So,
boy, one thing is for sure, we have a lot of restaurants in coastal Mississippi.
100%.
I mean, you have your national brands for sure, but boy, there are some local entrepreneurs and small business owners that have bet the ranch on their places. And man, there are some cool places to eat, aren't there?
Yes, 100%. There's so many tremendous hidden gems that, again, tourists might not be aware of, that they definitely need to stop at, but also people that live here might not know about. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah. So Reed Geis, you used to have an ad agency. He's been on the show a couple of times. He's a dear friend. In fact, Geis was the agency of record for the Sun Herald for over 20 years, and I was marketing director for a long period of time, and then of course the publisher. So it was associated with Reed for a long time, and we had this group we called the International Lunch Club. So we would go try something new and different a lot.
That's a great idea.
You know what we ended up landing on pretty regularly? Food in Biloxi. I mean, gosh, there's pho. Of course,
yeah.
we would read it pho in American, but pho, gosh, some of the best in the world right here in Biloxi, and I used to love when we would go venture off into that direction. Anyway, we're having a wonderful conversation with my friend Nicole Martz. She has a wonderful website she does on the side. She has a real job, but Gulf Coast Gal, something she does on the side, and she does such a great job with it. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to Coast Vue. We're having a wonderful conversation with my friend Nicole Martz, who works at the IP Casino, but on the side she actually has an effort. And it's about 4 years that she's been doing this YouTube videos she does. She tries to do 3 a week. Man, that's a tremendous commitment. But it's GulfCoastGal.net, or you can go to YouTube and see it, Gulf Coast Gal. I guess you're on social media as well, right? Facebook or whatever. So you can find her. Actually, this is really something I talked about a lot during the pandemic, that and even now in these inflationary pressured times, that if someone's thinking about about going somewhere and it's a little bit too expensive right now, this would be a great time to do a staycation. So I would really encourage you to go check out some of Nicole's videos. You actually may find a place to go eat or go visit that you weren't thinking about before, and watch it. She gives you great clarity about, like if she's at a restaurant, she shows you the menu and she talks about kind of where she's sitting and where the restaurant is and what she's eating. And remember one video you wondered if it might have too much jalapeno and it didn't, and you know what I mean. You give those kind of advices, which I think is so cool. So you really do, from the moment of going there through the whole experience, you try to give people as good an understanding of it as you possibly can, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. That's what it's all about. YouTube is the second most used search engine in the world. So, people want to see what they're getting themselves into. They want to see what the menu is before they go to a restaurant to see if there's something that they, are going to like or their kids are going to like. And I hope to help with that.
Nicole, what's interesting about coastal Mississippi is that it's a powerful region. This is a collection of small communities, and you think about the walkable communities in this, and how actually in the future, I think every single community will ultimately be defined as it is a walkable community. Each has its own unique sense of place. So from Bay St. Louis to even as far over as Waveland as well, but from Bay St. Louis to Ocean Springs and Moss Point's got this cool, vision that's evolving around being this river city, and Pascagoula, what's happening in downtown Pascagoula. I could talk about every single community in that way, but it's that collection of communities and the sense of place that exists in those communities. That's what makes this a special place to visit, isn't it?
1,000%. And we can have different unique experiences in each of those communities. So, most of my videos are based in Biloxi and Gulfport area because that's kind of the main hub. But I encourage people to kind of broaden their horizons, get out a little bit further than their normal radius, and try out places. One of my newest favorite activities is bike riding in Pass Christian. They have bikes you can rent downtown, and you can just go and explore the area. And I was able to find quite a few different restaurants that I'd never experienced before that I've been craving to go back to ever since.
Yeah, I ride a bike a lot, and one of my favorite things to do, I live on the north shore of Biloxi Bay, and I'll go across the Potts Ferry Road Bridge down to the beach and onto the boardwalk. In front of the restaurants and all that. But the Biloxi Boardwalk, it is by itself an incredible place to visit. Mm-hmm. And then Ocean Springs Bridge, a lot of people after Katrina said no one would ever walk it. We don't need to put a walking trail on it. We fought it hard. That fight actually is talked about in Haley Barber's book, America's Great Storm. And, as publisher of the Sun Herald, we fought really, really, really hard. And now, if you go look on some of the sites, it's like the one of the top attractions in coastal Mississippi. Yeah. Who would have ever thought a bridge would be that big of an attraction?
It's a great walk, especially when the weather's beautiful. You get the scenic, port or the harbors and all the boats going by, and it's fantastic.
Listen, in the final minute or two that we have left, if you were talking to a young woman who needed some advice from someone like you that's really advancing in her life and making a contribution to the community, what's your advice to a young woman who wants to take risk and try to be the best she can be?
Oh my goodness. Kind of goes back to what we were talking about before. Don't be afraid to take risks. Try new experiences and learn new things. Not only does it make for great memories, but it kind of opens your perspective and kind of broadens your perspective on things and maybe your community or different areas that you travel or different cultures, and just learn as much as you can and don't be afraid to try new things.
That is, I can't agree with you more. And I'll say the thing that you probably, that you wouldn't say about yourself, because you come across to me as a very modest person, that you lead by example. You're not someone who brags about her accomplishments. Don't even feel comfortable talking about your accomplishments, is my read on you. But I have, again, the thing that people said about you and the thing that I'm seeing in you during this conversation is that you have an immensely positive attitude about life. You wake up each day ready to tackle the day and to make your contribution. And there's a lot that can be said for approaching life that way, isn't there?
I think so. I mean, like I said, bringing your unique perspective or seeing where you can fit in and where you can help, because we're all in this together, kind of just like with the One Coast efforts. We're all in here to work together and make the most difference we can.
congratulations on being a One Coast recipient. You know, I had the pleasure of starting those awards back in 2001, and as you know, we celebrated the 20-year anniversary this past year. Since then, Sun Herald's handed them off to the chambers. They're doing such a great job with it. But you know, when I had the young leaders in mind, I had people like you that I was thinking about, and you know, so awesome that you were recognized. And what's important is you get the recognition, but more important, I always say this, is that you are able to be stood up as an example for others, and hopefully that will inspire others to want to get back to the community. Anyway, we're out of time, Nicole. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed this. You have to come back and join me again sometime.
Anytime.
Okay, this has been Nicole Martz. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.